3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 14. And we're going to have quite a short, brief podcast today.
Just like my love life, Chrissy. Just like my love life.
We managed to squeeze a quick pod in over the weekend, but we've got, especially Dom's, we've got a flying here, there, everywhere. So it'll just have to be a brief one. So no sponsor, we're just going to get straight into the thick of it. And we've got plenty to talk about, obviously. Myself, I was out at Oulton Park the weekend. Dom was...
Oh, God. Now, obviously, let's be honest, the show's getting a little bit of traction now, so everyone's keeping an eye on you. Oh, Chrissy, my heart bleeds for you. But we'll talk about that in a bit more detail.
We'll get on to it. You were out down at sunny Wales, right on the south coast of Wales, down by the valleys. So down in Pembrey. It's been a while since I've been down there, so I'm looking forward to hearing how
hold on, you've got like a track record down there, don't you? I was flicking through the programme there, and I saw your lovely little teenage face.
What was it, 2000?
Oh, while ago.
2010. 2010 it was from that lap record. But we'll have a catch up on how you got on down at Pembrey, and then obviously the Northwest 200. So when do you set off? Is it?
Well, actually, I've just come back from my little hectic little week. You know, everyone's the working class man never stops, as you know, like everyone else who listens to this. So I was down at Pembrey last weekend with the Davies Motorsport team. Back out on the classics, obviously, you know, to make up for me silly little mistake that I made last time at Castle Coombe, being a heavy-handed whore on the go juice, Chrissy. So I made up for that one. But got a couple of wins on the 350, which is all good, and making up with the relationship back up with me 500, the one that spat us off. You know, it's it's like any marriage. We have ups, we're downs. You know, we're chucking wine bottles at each other. You know, it's the same, same with anything. But Pembrey went mint, and after Pembrey went back over this week over the Enniskillen press launch. So I went over there and talked shite as I normally do, and it's an event I'm very much looking forward to. But I came back this morning. What day are we on, Chrissy? What's today's day? Check your phone there. What's today's
Saturday
day?
Saturday, isn't it?
Saturday, what are we on? The 11th of May. Oh my God. The 11th of May. So I came back this morning, and then I've got to go down to Derby, where the Davies Motorsport team are, to help pack the van, and then we go on Sunday night. So
over to the Northwest.
Over to the Northwest. So I've come from Ireland to go back to Ireland. So it's all the funs and games from that.
And also I've got a bit of road racing to catch up on from over at Tandragee. I think there was a few crashes, few big...
Obviously, on the last episode we got hung up on the whole Taylor, Miley Cyrus wrecking ball situation with Jason O'Halloran. But obviously we had the Cookstown 100 last weekend, and there's a few big names missing from this for this season. Even the little lads are just missing out. And it's quite narrowing down the field. And I think the Irish scene is starting to struggle on that side of things. Don't get me wrong, the lads at the front. You've got your Paul Jordan, your Adam McLean, your Sweeney, your McGee. You've got Derek Shields. You've got some serious lads there, and they're all dicing for the lead. But the segregation between the classes is getting bigger and bigger, if you know what I mean. You've got the elite lads, and they're just clearing off, and then the other lads on the lower budgets are trying to catch up with that. So between the classes, they're just sharing the wins, if you know what I mean. But McGee's just tidying up as he does, and obviously Adam McLean, after a very successful testing in Spain, the lad's hungry for it. He really is hungry for it. And Chrissy, he's a lovely, lovely man. He's a lovely, lovely man. But unfortunately, he had a big tumble on the McAdoo Super Twin at Tandragee, and the poor lad's bust his arm on his his pelvis and his collarbone, I believe. But anyway, he's had a big injury list there. But being a light little Irishman, he tried to land like a leaf. But obviously, the obstacles that he hit tend to do the damage more than anything. But obviously, Adam, if you are listening, because obviously you got a little bit more time on your hands, God love you. Get well soon from me and Chrissy, and obviously I was about to say the podcast team there, but it's just you and me, innit? Just me and you. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
I hope he's alright, and obviously he'll be missing the Northwest and the TT, presumably.
And he had some cracking start numbers this year, he was really, really hungry for it this year, and obviously, it's like poking a lion in the face. You can only poke a lion so long till it wants to gnaw your own face off.
So What's the crack there? If you've got a seeded number, and then before the event, if you know that you're going to be out from injury, do they move everyone up, or do they?
I don't know. I don't think they move anyone up. It's obviously on the TT website, he's classed as a withdrawal. Obviously, God love him. But no, it's a case of there'll just be a 10-second gap. So I'm trying to think of which he had a cracking star number. Oh God, yeah, this is typical Dominic not doing his homework.
On the 20, he was starting well out, wasn't he?
Well out. So it's basically just because it's a time trial, it won't affect the overall. It's obviously the lad who's got to start essentially 20 seconds behind the next lad. It's going to be harder work for him. In the way of let the dog see the rabbit. If you've got a target and you can close it in, psychologically you know yourself, if you can catch someone and close them in, you're going to go faster.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, but McGee there, another Irish lad, he's absolutely dominating the road racing scene, the national scene at the moment. But he came second last year at the TT. But, they call it the road sweeper, the first lad down the road. And that won't affect McGee. There's no way, because he's used to back lane entrances.
Yeah.
God, that sounds rude, doesn't it? Oh God, I'm gonna get a slap from him here next time I see him. Anyway, but lovely lad, lovely man. No, so he's used to obviously the dirty roads and the back roads, and it's great, isn't it? I'm just trying to ease him in here like he does. Thumbs him in and goes from there. So no, it's not going to affect him. He's going to go down the road, and he's just going to put his head down. And I really think he's on for a top result. And the same thing with the Northwest. I just think it's a double-edged sword. But anyway, enough about the roads for now. How did BSB Oulton Park go across all fields?
Yeah, well, I'll start with myself. Up until the race, we were having quite a positive weekend, making good progress in every session, and we've sort of taken a different direction with the bike, and I felt we're making really, really strong progress, and I'm excited to get back out on the bike because I feel like we've still got lots of work to go in that direction. But unfortunately, in the race, obviously after the terrible weekend that we had at Silverstone from engine failure and then getting taken out of the race, I was having a reasonably decent race. Got up to 4th in the first corner, and it was the first time I've...
From where on the grid? Where did you
I
start?
was 8th on the grid. And
good lad.
Straight up to 4th. I had a mint start. But it was the first time I'd rode the bike in the wet, so first few laps sort of bedded in. I was about 6th, getting a feel for the conditions.
I came down to watch, and that was, speaking of the conditions, it started to dry up on you rapidly.
Yeah, I did. Well, everyone was out on wet tyres, and then... But yeah, there was pretty much a dry line appearing, so they're always quite challenging conditions, those, because you very rarely get a chance to test. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, got beginning of the race was going okay, but then we ended up having a gearbox issue, so I lost third gear, and it was, to be honest, in hindsight, I was very lucky to stay on the bike, which
Did it lock up on you?
No, basically when it went. I was going down into Druids, which is fast, through the trees, and I went down to third gear, and it was essentially just like being in neutral. It was just the gear went, but it meant running off the dry line, and then I had no engine braking to get us stopped, so it was all on the front brake, and I was like thinking the front was going to tuck, but managed to. I just went on the grass, and then realised that the engine had a problem, and when I got back, the belly pan was full of oil.
Oh God! Well, you're lucky, like you say, with hindsight. No, you're very
actually
unlucky.
Yeah, we actually had the oil was coming out from earlier on in the race, so even for laps and laps and laps, I was really, really sketchy.
Did you notice the oil while riding?
Felt just on my left foot, yeah. So that was causing a lot less grip, so I started going backwards in the race. But I was still I think I was about 7th, round about 7th, I think, when I had to pull in. So it would have been a decent finish for us after the start of the season that we had. But we'll put that behind us, and the team will get the bike sorted, and hopefully that'll be the end of the...
They say it comes in threes, mate. They say it comes in threes, young'un.
But I'm someone that I don't really like keep talking about luck. I kind of think you make your own luck. So it's like I don't want to I don't want to sound like I'm always just have I got no luck type of thing. Because in the past, it is like swings and roundabouts, and it's part of racing. So I prefer just to think of it like that. It's part of racing, and we'll hopefully come back stronger. And really looking forward to getting back out.
When you're next out?
I've got a test before the next round, so I've got a test next week, and then the next round's at Donington National Circuit.
Is your test at Donington?
No, testing at Cadwell Park.
Is that just a track day, or is that through
track day?
The almighty BSB world?
No, just a track day. But I've got a lot of work to do on the bike, so full day will be perfect.
So have you got your fancy engine back, or have you got your...
No, we're still on the 18, so the old engine. But hopefully, I think we're getting an engine sorted for the next race.
Obviously, you've had like very little time on it, because obviously this is your first season on the ZX10, which is a total different. It's a total different bike. Even the spelling's different from BMW to Kawasaki. Yeah, my education's really paying off here. So obviously, now that you've had the unfortunate situation of trying both engines, off the top of your head, which one do you prefer?
It isn't actually like an obvious thing, because for those that don't know, basically from 2018 to 2019, Kawasaki homologated basically a better engine. So they increased the RPM, so I think it's got 500 or 600 more RPM, and the lightened quite a few critical parts in the engine, so that the engine spins up faster. It's got more horsepower. Which it all sounds positive, but it is actually quite
more money, more problems. P Diddy, God love it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It has actually worked where all this extra power, it's spinning up so fast. It's quite an aggressive power to control. So we've, like I say, we didn't have a great deal of time on the 19 engine, so it's difficult to compare. I'm sure that once we get it sorted and dialed in properly, the 19 will be better. But
yeah,
I probably found having a little bit less power and a little bit less RPM, it was a little bit less aggressiveness. It was probably easier to ride for me at the last round.
Which is not a bad thing. At the end of the day, it's still very early doors in the season, so if you can build into it like that and then get your super duper steroid engine towards the middle, and you'd be like, get out my fucking way.
I'm hoping to be on that next engine as soon as possible, and we'll do what we can. One thing that is interesting, talking about Kawasaki, is obviously Glenn Irwin was going into this season as the championship favourite.
On the favourite bike.
On the championship winning bike, yeah. And he has had the disastrous start to the season. It couldn't have went much worse, really. His teammate Ben Curry broke his foot in FP1, so he's going to be out for a while.
Oh,
and
God.
Glenn, they both did very poorly at the first round at Silverstone, and then that continued at Oulton Park. Glenn was,
but that pressure, like your championship runs like to the end. You don't have a showdown thing, so these lads have got the first couple of rounds to play with that. But even so, rhythm is rhythm, isn't it?
Exactly.
You need to build it.
I think Glenn qualified 25th. I think he was like way off. What
25th?
25th. Yeah, he was like.
And he was banging in some serious times last year on the Paul Bird Ducati, though, wasn't he? He was winning.
Yeah, he was right at the front. But like I was just saying about the 18 and the 19 switch. I was actually speaking to Glenn, and he was saying at the end of last year he tested the bike that Leon Haslam had just won on.
Aye.
And he rode it. He thought it was amazing. He was going into the off season really, really confident. And then the new 19 bike's been a new start, and I think it hasn't been the sort of transition that he was wanting. And it's, when he jumped on that bike that Leon had developed over the years, he jumped onto a race winning bike, and I feel like he sort of starting from scratch with the 19 bike, and all the extra power. They're really, really struggling. Obviously, it is doable because clearly Johnny Ray's doing the business.
He's actually won a race.
He's actually won a race. Leon Haslam. So it is clearly doable, but they're really struggling. And you look at someone like Ryan Vickers, who's just jumped up to super bikes from Superstock 600. That team, the Lee Hardy Racing team, have stayed on the 18 engine, so they're basically running the same bike as what they had with Dixon. And
he's doing really well, mind.
Exactly, he was just inside the top 10 or just outside like a 9th and 11th, I think he got.
And he went from a 600 to a foul.
Exactly. So
big foul now.
And then Glenn, on the other hand, who was going in as the championship favourite, was like Ryan Vickers got through to Q3. Glenn didn't even get through from Q1, Q2. So that's maybe a similar sort of issue. But there's a few. The FS3 team seem to be doing a good job at the moment with.
That's what I say. The other
Danny Buchan's
he got 2 thirds,
podiums, and also Lee Jackson in the Superstock category, racing against myself, seems to be going really well, like much stronger than last year. So yeah, it's one of those things we're going to be working very hard, and I'll do everything I can. I think I have got a good few ideas of where to go and where's time to be made.
Go on, tell us. I won't tell anyone. Go on, just tell everyone on the podcast.
I'll tell you off the pod. But obviously you're going to be riding the same bike, going on the Northwest.
Well, we've only done one race meeting on it, but obviously the weather wasn't even in the wet. The bike was a mint, but it's that. Obviously, we're going to talk about like Northwest in a bit, and it's that double-edged sword situation. But no, I love the bike, and I'm looking forward to getting on it. But hey, I tell you what, before we drop off the Oulton Park conversation, obviously Bridewell did fantastic, and he did very well in the World Superbike, very well. Did you see the result he got?
Yeah, well, yeah. So he got two seconds at the weekend, wasn't it, at Oulton Park? And then Eugene Laverty is out of Imola. I presume he's injured. So
on the old twatter there, he's like waiting for surgery and stuff like that. So
so he
must
he's
be that
out.
moustache removal.
So Bridewell's in there on the Ducati, but I think it's just a total last minute thing. I don't know what his track knowledge is like around Imola, and he obviously hasn't tested that bike. So jumping in at the deep end, straight into free practice, and then qualifying in a race. But I seen he got points in the first race,
12?
didn't he? Yeah, that
12 is just mint, like, you know what I mean?
I mean that's just today, isn't it?
That was just today. We're fresh on chasing
off
the
the
racing. We are fresh off the press, mind. There you go.
And Johnny Ray finally got his broke the Bautista domination.
But did you see him on? I just watched it beforehand, and he was just jumping up and down like a bleeding Harley, man. He was like, wait! It was like he won the world championship, and then that little Spaniard. What a professional he is, man. He's like, I'm very happy for that. Like, I can't do Spanish accents. I can't even do my own. But he was like, he's like, oh, yeah, well done, son. It's like pretty much looking at him going, you're mine. You're mine next.
Well, if you remember rightly, last week we had a little £5 wager.
Oh, shite. Right, I'll get.
But I'll tell you what, we'll wait until tomorrow's race, because if Bautista wins tomorrow, we'll call it quits.
No, I'll give you money. Don't you worry, son. Don't you worry.
So, and then the rest of the BSB crack from Oulton Park. Obviously, Brooks dominated after a terrible Silverstone. Walked away from Silverstone with 0 points after 2 engine failures, and then he went out there and just blitzed it all weekend, from testing, qualifying, and then the race. He was just the man to beat all weekend. Scott Redden on the other Ducati had a reasonable weekend. He had a little crash, I think, on Sunday morning, he had a little crash at some point, and he was crawling off the track, from his leg injury.
Yes,
he did get out there and race, and I think he was around about the 4th, 5th in one of them, and I think he was around 5th, 6th-ish, something like that. It looked pretty good. I actually watched the race and driving home. I had the old Eurosport player on the thing, so I really enjoyed actually watching the race. One person I was really impressed with, but who didn't get the sort of result that would reflect his pace, was Peter Hickman. He seems to be making massive inroads with the new BMW.
Then Ellison seems to be struggling with it.
Yeah.
Compared to Hickman, like you say, Hickman's probably on it.
Well, Farmer, Idden and Hickman, all on the new BMW, seem to be going well.
Farmer's doing mint.
They got some new parts delivered for Oulton Park, and I was speaking to Chrissy and Idden, and he was saying he's really happy with the package that they've got. Says the bike's really strong and much better than last year's.
Well, Hans and Fritz build some good motors, mine, so it's only about time.
And then, but Hickman, what I was saying is Hickman in the first race got taken off the grid. So basically, for those that don't know, this year BSB have brought some rules in for the tyre pressures. So basically, the the procedure before the race is you obviously have your tyres on the tyre pressures. Sorry, on the tyre warmers. You set your pressures to what you test them. Throughout testing, you sort of feel what you're comfortable with the tyre pressures. Then you set your tyre pressures, go to the grid. But for like my class, the super stock, you can't take generators on the grid. So you go to the grid. People put tyre warmers on, but they're like a tyre blanket because they're not plugged in.
Is this after the warm-up lap, though?
Yeah. So you do your sighting lap, sit on the grid for a bit. In that time, when you're sitting on the grid, there's six random bikes get checked for tyre pressures.
This is in your class, or is this all classes?
The Pirelli classes, so the superbikes do it, and the super stock, I presume super sport and super stock will probably 600s will probably do the same. But anyway, so the guys from Pirelli come onto the grid, choose 6 random bikes, and basically there's a minimum tire pressure of 1.65 bar, which is 30. I think it's something like 23.9 psi, something like that. So basically,
that's low, that mind, isn't it?
So they come the check, and if you're below that, then you get wheeled off the grid, and you have to come into pit lane, pump your tyres up to the recommended minimum. Then you're allowed to set off from pit lane.
So, all right.
So that's what Peter Hickman went. So Peter Hickman was everyone's supposed to have a minimum of 1.65, I think, bar, and he was 1.62 when he got checked.
Is that due to health and safety? Is that policing the class to try and keep everyone equal? But
I think it's to do with safety, because the Pirelli have had problems with the tyres delaminating. So
yeah, but surely that's a team tactic, if you know what I mean. It's a bit like they've got these top lads have got tyre teams, haven't they? And they say, well, look, if we can get the edge by dropping a pound, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I think at the end of the day, I think there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, like my dad's an old school rider. You know, if it's wet, he just takes a PSI out. It's more of a on the valve rather than actual direct measurement.
There has been a few issues. There was quite a few people got taken off the grid at the first round, because it's your choice what tyre pressures you run until the minimum. But most people in the super stock would be running going to the grid with around about 24, 25 psi. But obviously, if you go out, that's off the warmers. If you then wheel yourself down to the pit lane, sit there for a minute, then do a sighting lap, which you're not really pushing, the tyre temperature cools. That means the pressure's lower. Right, so even if you go out with the required amount in, if your tyres cool down, then which is what will happen with Hickman, they won't have not put enough air in.
Aye,
it'll have just been a case of his tyres will have cooled down, and therefore, when they've cooled down, they've been checked, and they've been lower than what the requirement is. So yeah, I mean, it is a difficult one to police, because really you want to be checking the tyre pressure off the warmer, because it's
right. Aye,
do you know what I mean? There's too much of a variable if you're doing a sighting lap, then sitting on the grid for a few minutes,
in or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like so yeah, but anyway, I just thought I would mention that's why Hickman had to start from pit lane, but he came through like a trooper, and really, really strong performance. Clearly had the pace to be possibly even on the podium, but certainly top 6. I think he came through to 11th, but he was just off 9th. So, you know, coming from the back of the grid, really, really good.
There we go.
I think he'll be really comfortable on that new bike for the Northwest and the TT. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Also, Harrison was going really well at Oulton Park.
12 for 14, I can't mind on.
It was something like that, but it was Glenn actually turfed him off in the first race, going down into the second chicane. So it knocked him off onto the grass, which I think he would have been pretty pissed about. But he's looking good for the roads this year. So let's get on to talking about the Northwest. So obviously you're going over there. Is it tomorrow or the next? Yeah, tomorrow. Get yourself set up. What's the crack with? Obviously you're not out until what's the first day of practice?
Tuesday's the first day of practice.
Okay, so get up. You go over there Sunday. Is Monday just a set-up day? Get the garage set.
So we're going from me and the Davies lads are going over on the Sunday night. So it's like the 8-hour boat over. So we get there the Monday to set up. You have to sign on, get scrutineered and everything, like riders briefings and everything. and then Tuesday's just straight in the practice. But you think you've got it tough at BSB. Like, have you been to a Northwest?
No, not yet.
You should come, mind, because obviously you're not allowed to ride the bikes through the paddock or anything like that. And it's like an under bridge, and you've got to push up and down. It's like it's more of an endurance event for your bloody mechanics, man. You'll be blowing out your bloody bagpipe in half an hour. It's absolutely hell of an atmosphere of the place. But no, it's a hectic day on Tuesday, with the weather. But we're looking good for the weather, mind. So whoever's coming out, you're in for a treat, which will be grand. But no, that's the thing, like the Northwest. It's a double-edged sword, as I like to call it. Now, great event. It's the first international, blah blah blah. It's where everyone starts to see where they lie, ready for the TT. But even the top budget people, like your Dean Harrisons, your Michael Dunlops, hey, there's a rumour flying around on the old face tube there that he's injured.
I've heard about that, his wrist or something.
Something to do with his wrist. He's obviously brought out a new beer. He's obviously churning all the cheddar out, isn't he? Just pulling pints. He's knocked his wrist, making all that money. But, I don't. Is he coming? Is he not coming?
I'm not sure. I heard a thing that he was out testing the other day, so I presume he'll be riding. But it might even be a case of missing the Northwest, so he's ready for the TT.
Ready for the TT, but just the road races, just a slightly different breed, and not exactly footballers, are they? Well, look at Gary Johnson. Wasn't he in a crash involved with Rutter or something?
Yeah, so I actually forgot to mention that about Oulton Park. So I think it was either was it qualifying? No, free practice 2. So it was on Friday afternoon. Went out. I think I was out first, actually. So I was out at the front of the pack. I did my first lap, and then on my sort of first flying lap, the red flags came out, and so you're tootling around, and then I came round Druids over the crest, and the ambulance was on the track. So I was like, shit. And then I seen the first thing I seen was Michael Rutter's leathers, and I thought, bloody hell, Michael never ever crashes. I
Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, he is Mr. Consistent. So I looked up and I was like, bloody hell, that can't be Michael. And then Michael's bike was parked up next to the Armco, and Michael was stood next to his bike, and then there was like a scene on the floor, and I was like, shit. So I looked over, and it was the RAF Reserves Kawasaki, which is obviously Gary Trevor Johnson. And so the bike was down, and Gary was lying on the floor, and he didn't look great, to be honest. The medical team was seeing him straight away, which, if that happens, it's usually quite serious, isn't it, on the side of the track?
And he's a tough lad, Gary.
He is, and then, but I think I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know what happened. I don't know who caused the crash or whatever.
What I've heard on the rumour mill, that it's a bit of he needs a skin graft.
Right.
On the back of his leg. But what he's done, he's pretty much outrightly refused the skin graft and just said, look, I've got to go to the Northwest and the TT.
Also, is he still planning on racing?
I think he is, aye.
Fair play to him. Because I think he's broke his neck a couple of times before, so they took him into hospital for x-rays, but I think it was more of a precautionary thing. I don't know what the crack was with his leg. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I hope he's all right. I was speaking to him actually at Silverstone, and he was saying he was probably looking forward to the racing this year. And we're talking about all kinds of stuff. He's nice lad, isn't he?
He's a lovely, lovely man. I know, but
he's good crack. He's good crack.
He's definitely a character in the sport anyway. But but no, let's hope he gets to the Northwest like the rest of them. But obviously, we've talked about it loads on this show, because it's the first big road race, and obviously you got your Coopers and everyone, but you're talking about him briefly there, but like Glenn Irwin and the Sealy thing, and I think it's really starting to come to light what the potential outcome is. I hate to say it, but it is looking like Sealy's show, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it would look that way in terms of the bikes, the Ducati's looking strong, and basically Glenn looks like he's struggling at the moment. However, I do
look
think
at what Paul Bird's team's come away with Brooks. 2 wins there, and obviously they're developing knowledge each time. Brand new bike, as well as Hickman's got a brand new bike, but it doesn't seem to have that.
I've got to be honest, I do think if Sealy and Glenn were both lining up on the same bike, I would fancy Glenn to beat him
definitely
every day of the week. But the way things are at the moment, I can just see Sealy having such a straight line speed advantage, and obviously at the Northwest, I think that's going to be so critical that it might be a case that no matter how hard Glenn rides around the corners, it might just be a case of Sealy just pissing past him on the straight every lap.
Well, honestly, Glenn Irwin's going to have to like stick on the Sealy like a cheap spray tan, isn't he? He's just going to have to stick right on him. You know what I mean? Just get in a tow and go for it. He's going to have to, like, you know, it's just... But all in all, it's still up for a good show, though. Which is going to be good.
Well, it's not a two-man show anyway, is it? There's loads of fast lads going.
Exactly, that's it. You know, that happen every year. Same with the TT and all these big races. You tend to iron out... this is the battle, but there's always going to be...
fancying Lee Johnson, to be honest. He's going really well in the
Supersport. I will not, like, because he's always taken at the Sealy.
Mm-hmm.
He's always taken at the Sealy at the Northwest, and it's his little baby, that Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you say, on those, when it comes to the Supersport races...
Also, I'm very much looking forward to seeing McGuinness out on the twin. He's the only one taking the super light, the new Norton 650.
So Hickman and Todd, what are they doing?
Hickman and Todd are sitting out the Northwest on the twin. So it'll be the first. I know Johnny Towers, the owner of RST's been out with on the new twin, testing it quite a lot. He used to dominate all the twin racing.
Thundersports.
Yeah,
he was unreal.
Like, super twin stuff. So that's... He's very, very experienced on those bikes, and he's been doing quite a bit of testing. I think McGuinness, Todd, and Hickman have all been out on the super light.
They were down at our local, weren't they? Down at Croft.
Yeah, they've been out at Croft, and they've been out a few other places. So they've all had a taste of it, but I think McGuinness is the only one actually racing it at the Northwest. Also, last pod we weren't sure about if... McGuinness was going to be at the Northwest on the big bike, but what we were saying last time about they can't race the 1200 Norton CC,
which is through sheer capacity, isn't
exactly, yeah. But they are actually going on the traditional with the Aprilia V4,
the traditional, the old banger, the old Aprilia, MotoGP bike.
So McGuinness will be going. Obviously, McGuinness returning back to the circuit where he had that massive injury.
You almost got a hole in one mind landing on that golf course. You were so close, so close.
But it'll be great to see. He's such a legend, and so it'll just be great to see him back out there. And
definitely,
that bike does sound sweet as well, doesn't it?
It'll be good. Definitely good. It'll be like, hey, tell you what, it'll be good if he gets a win. That'll probably shake some feathers. That mine.
More importantly, how's your preparations going for the Northwest?
Oh, mate, don't even ask me about that. No, it's a case of, you know, the Davies Motorsport team. You know, I keep discussing them, obviously, because we're biased on this show and we can mention more teams. Chrissy, it's our podcast. Screw the system. But no, they're not a new team. You know, obviously with the classics, but still to build a new part of their infrastructure, like in the modern machinery, it takes time. You know, they've got a couple of new bikes there, and it takes time to get them right. And we've just lacked that track time, and the track time that we have had hasn't been the best conditions. So we're very much I was about to say we're going to treat this as a test. It's not. It's a road race. This is what I want to do, and we're going to go out and give it the beans, like. But it's a case of
it's good, lad.
Oh Christ, I've had a coffee before. Your man makes a wicked coffee. It's wicked. But no, it's a case of, you know, when that old saying goes, you know, once the clutch drops, the nonsense stops, doesn't it? So it's a case of it's going to be a real good feel to how we want the bike, but we've got to preserve it for the TD, and a lot of lads do that. I don't care who they are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's only a handful of specialists out there ready just for the Northwest. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking your Glen Irwins, your Sealeys. I'm trying to think who else would be there. Your Coopers. Yeah. You know what I mean? He'll be out there to make an impression.
I tell you what, Richard Cooper's had such a great run of form from the end of last year. So he won the last BSB race at Brands Hatch. He then went over and won the Sunflower. Then he won Mallory Park Race of the Year. Then I know he rides bikes all the time, like the pit bike stuff. And then he started this season fantastic. Absolutely obliterated the lap record at the weekend at Oulton Park. So, do you know the fastest lap in the Superbike race, right, was a 30... Let's get this right.
You've got to beat it next year, Chrissy. You've got to get it right.
35.1 was the fastest Superbike lap in the race, right? So, Bridewell got the fastest lap, 35.1. What do you think Richard Cooper did on a super stock bike?
36.2.
35.9. He was less than a second.
Holy shit.
He was less than a second off the fastest superbike lap of the race on a super stock bike. It was
They are kids. Go buy yourself a Suzuki. They are.
It was very, very impressive. The original Superstock lap record was a 36.7, I think, around that. I've done a 36.8 around there, so I was like a tenth off that, like in the past.
Bloody hell,
and then Cooper absolutely annihilated the lap record. So like that's like a good superbike time what he did on a stocker. So like I say,
but he is a previous superbike rider, but still, I know what you're saying.
What I'm saying is he's going into the Northwest, like riding fantastic. That bike with him on it will be fast in a straight line. So because obviously that team's got superbikes, so I don't think that there'll be much in the top speed between that and Seeley.
And he's got the weight of a spuggy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
He doesn't weigh much, does he? So if I personally think, I know we had that poll about will he be on the podium or not.
That was like one of the first episodes, wasn't it? So
I certainly think he could. It depends what his attitude is. If he goes there and he wants a podium, I think he'll get one.
If he's got the attitude to go racing there anyway, at the end of the day, it's not like you're going through Ginger Hall at the Northwest. You know what I mean? It is very smooth, and the council, the teams, the organisers do a fantastic job of making it as safe as it can. Yes, fundamentally, it is a road race, and if it goes wrong, it is gonna hurt. But all in all, it is still tarmac on the floor, and these lads, and they're going to go hell for leather on it.
Tell you what, as a little preview, because obviously Northwest's going to be from Tuesday, and then the racing's next weekend. Just dead quick, let's do an onboard lap. So describe us through. So
mate, don't even waste.
On, mate,
no, honestly, I can't remember a single name of a corner.
Not the names, but like start. Obviously, you start line. You go down into that shot. You go around that right-handed down.
You can talk me through a lap here. You know where you go on.
Sharp in at the left, and then talk us through like some of the main parts of the track.
Well, this is terrible. I feel like I should have a track map out in front of us. I tell you what, Chrissy, I'm learning. I'm learning each time. I even printed off a track map before. Doesn't mean I can read anything off it, mind. But I tell you what, I'm gonna quickly find it.
The main reason I'm asking this is because, do you know the first sort of section, tight twisty, you then go down into that roundabout, then you start getting through the gears, and I think you get up to fifth, and then bang it into, what's that really, really fast corner called?
It's Station.
That's corner.
To be honest, that is the ballsiest turn on the place. It really is.
Talk us from the run-up from that, so that tight, you've got that tight left, that's where everyone gathers together.
Your corner.
Yeah,
right
from there,
right opposite an Italian's, lovely Italian's mind. They've got a what do you call it?
Happy hour.
Happy hour. Oh Christ, I know they're lovely, nice and expensive. No, so you come up and then you're hitting Mill Road roundabout. See that the Northwest does suit the short circuit lads because it is all about your braking experience. Like I remember following. Well, hold on. Seeley went through me like a cheap slapper coming in Quarry Hill over the start line, big sweeping left, and I actually stuck with Seeley all the way through the twisty section, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, I'm staying with. I wasn't right up his arse, you know what I mean? But I'm thinking I can stay with him here. I'm staying with him. I stayed with him on the brakes in the York corner, but this is where the expertise came into play. Was at Mill Road roundabout. He came up the hill. And honestly, he just went right, and the way he chucked it on the left, he pulled 4 bike lengths. I'm not even exaggerating. I went into the corner, and he just saw this thing spinning up out the corner, and he went, holy shit. So through the bottom where it is bumpy because you've got the camber on the road, you've got the potholes, and they're the risky bits, and this was practice, mine. So Seeley's not sticking his neck out doing that, but I'm following through going, right, I can stick with him on this. But that late braking, that's where it matters at the Northwest. You've got Station, and you come over like the Bay. I'm looking at my track map here. Like, you've got Blackbridge straight over. And even then, you're tapping at 200 mile an hour, and you're leaving at 300 yards.
So do you know, going into Station Corner, obviously, it's a fast right-hander. Are you up to fifth gear?
Fifth tapped.
And then then you're right on the left-hand side of the road. Do you have a turning marker for that?
Well, you've got the junction. You've got like the road. You see, that's the easiest thing. Every time I go short circuit racing, it's hard to get a reference point, if you know what I mean. Like a physical road racing, that's it. You've got trees, lampposts, you've got pillocks wearing Speedos, you've got everything. And like opposite Station, it's the direct junction. And you're coming down that fast. You just look for the end of the junction, and you just go. You know what I mean? It does take time to build into it, but you comfortably hold that in fifth.
Flat fifth.
Flat fifth. Even I'm holding it flat fifth. You know, just coming in, and you can hear the things screaming. Because it's positive. Once you like cross over in that positive camber, it just glues in. But on the way out, you just get this pump effect out of it. And it just, it's just mint. But that leads you on to nearly like, I think it's like a couple of mile straight. Yeah.
Well, that's the helicopters the bikes lose the helicopters along there.
Exactly, that's it. But then you're leaving it all the way to University Corner for 300 yards and just.
And is it for that few miles? Is it just a case of absolute pin 6 gear, tuck in as hard as you can, and are you just
like 3 bike slipstreams and you're just moving in and out, and that's where you start trusting the other riders.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus, you just go and go. But, you know, in practice, it is so real. It's like, gee, whoa, this is nuts. But when it comes to racing, it's the same as you on the short circuit. You just dig in and go past them. And just pass them.
Do you know, obviously, we're talking about Jack Kennedy and Alistair Seeley from Silverstone, where Jack knew Seeley was slipstreaming him on the left-hand side, so he went right to the white line and essentially pushed Seeley onto the grass. Obviously, that you can't do that.
Yeah.
What is there a rider etiquette in terms of if you know someone's coming on your left-hand side? I presume you don't sort of move or
no way. Like I personally not seen that, and I just. You would skin them with a spork if someone did that with like I would anyway. You know, if someone purposely tried to push me out of the grass at 200 mile an hour.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's
be getting the Herbertson.
They get the Herbertson spork. I would start with their eyelids and work down. I really would. But it's a case of the thing is it's so fast. It's not like you've got a minor gap to make. You've got such a long straight, and once you've got in behind someone, you're just going, oh, right, here they come. You can't argue with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just make it up on the brakes. It's like the slower sections, you can, but there's not really many slow sections around there.
When I went to that McGuinness night the other day, he was saying that although you would get in someone's slipstream, he would always sit just slightly off, just so you could watch their throttle. Do you ever get fully behind someone and so you can't see anything, or do you always just sit a tiny smidgen out of the slipstream just so you can watch what's in front and what's coming up?
Well, there was a French try, I can't remember his name, but a back tyre exploded right in front of us. Like literally, the black rubber came flying over me, hit like chunks of tyre, and you think, God, if I was any closer, you couldn't react to it. Yeah. But your brain forgets about that. You just get past, and you think the closer I get to your back wheel, you just pop out. But I think John's more thinking for the brakes coming in, because if you can get in behind him and just eye up the braking marker, you can just see the body language change and just boom, boom, up on the brakes and just make it up. Because John's carrying a lot more natural traction action compared to most other riders. I'm calling him fat, Chrissy. When he comes in, he's got to play it much more carefully because he can dig it in and drive. But you know, John's won races around there and he's still capable of it. The Norton, we'll find out because it's the first time there.
Yeah. And also, when at that speed, at like 200 miles an hour or anything, have you hit many animals? Also, like, I presume if you hit a big wasp at 200 miles an hour, it's gonna bloody hurt.
Oh, it's like I think it was
like a stone.
Oh, I tell you what, that's the worst thing about the Northwest, because obviously you're transferring over, the little islands where they put the traffic signals on. They try and street clean them as much as you can, but it digs into the tarmac. Your paint work gets obliterated. And you're coming back with bruises all over your chest, little stone chips at 200 mile an hour. It's like being point blank shot with a frozen paintball. Like, it knacks. It absolutely knacks in it. And the bikes and the radiators on the bike, you've got to extra guard them. It's like, it's proper borderline agricultural, if you know what I mean. You've got to prepare the bikes for damage rather than just racing, and it's that fine line. Really is. But
I bet your radiator guards are a necessity for the Northwest, is it?
Oh, without a doubt. Oh no, you're just pissing in the wind if you'd think, all right, it's constant stones and stuff. But no, like, answering your question, the worst thing I felt was at the Ulster Grand Prix, going down the Flying Kilo, and I was on the 600, like my mate 600, and I pulled out, went down. And what felt like a pterodactyl, I thought I wiped a species clean off the earth, right? It was only like a little blackbird, but it smacked off my lid. Blood went all over his feathers, went into the grill of the radiator and started cooking, and you could smell it cooking right around you like bloody hell. But it went through the screen, and my mates Stephen and Josh and everyone, and like Jake and Ashley and everyone was there going, "What the hell you been doing?" Honestly, it looked
barbecue.
It looked like a headbutted Colonel Sanders from KFC. I swear, my life just went out my way. Like, but
and is that the fastest speed you get in the calendar year down at the northwest, or it's touching 200?
Yeah. So it's definitely the fastest straight line speed.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ulster you get the similar. But no, the fastest I've ever been on the BMW was 198.9. But that was like with a headwind. I would love to do 200 mile an hour. You know, when you meet people in the pub going, "Oh, I've done 200 mile an hour," have your bollocks fine. I've had the northwest coast to go flying as quick as I can. It is some pace, 200 mile an hour when you think about it. You know what I mean? But I would love to come back, Chrissy, after this week and just come in and say I've done 200 mile an hour. I would love to do that.
Well, you have to keep us posted.
Oh,
so down the straight, hard on the brakes into a left-hander, and then
up onto the magic roundabout. It's actually called the Ballysally roundabout, but that's the opposite side. That's proper northwest. You know what I mean? You just feel proper naughty. Then after that, you've obviously got the famous Guy Martin whinge when he was on for the Tygo bike saying fucking chicanes. For these events to keep going, they've got to play the insurance game, and I totally understand. But yeah, I totally agree with Guy Martin. If the chicanes weren't there, it would be unreal. But it does break it up. It does.
And do you think that gives the short circuit lads a bit of an advantage?
It does and it doesn't, because it slows them down a little bit more for the privateer teams to try and catch up with them. But then they've got the skill of the short circuit to outbrake. But then they've got the brake horsepower to power out the corners. But it does break up the straights, But it's difficult. But then you get down to Metropole, then after that you're coming through like Church Corner up to Black Hill, and it's proper road race, and you're under railway bridges, up and over blind corners, and it's just absolutely class, man.
Well, do you know that last lap, William Dunlop and Michael battling for the win there?
We'll have to put that on the Twitter.
Yeah,
we'll have to put that
on the old Twitter page. That is unreal, innit?
That was just so. They didn't even talk after that for a little bit. It was a proper. That was a William Dunlop. It was a battle, between two brothers, and it was just that was a one to keep. And obviously, James Cowton. That was the best race I've ever seen around the northwest, and like me and like a lot of other people, it breaks me out that he's not there. But what a race that was, and we've talked about it before on the show, but it's worth talking about again. That was the best move ever.
So do you know if you were in a battle? So just say you'd been battling for the whole race. Obviously, sometimes at the northwest, it's not an advantage to be leading. Certainly on the first straight. Like over the last 10 years, Seeley's been the master of picking the opportunity to take the lead, and then does enough to ride defensively for the last few miles. At what point would you say, is it when you go under that railway bridge? Do you want to be leading by then, or do you feel like if you're second then right up the other person's arse, then you've still got a good opportunity to get into the last few chicanes?
You've got to get over Black Hill. You've got to be. That's the last breaking point. Obviously not where James came out. That
isn't even a passing point.
That's not even a passing point, but it was so clean and so accurate. It was amazing. But that is your do or die moment. It really is, because you have got the run off, but it's so. That's why people go for it, because it is safe enough. There's gravel. There is not much room, but you're properly hard on it. Yeah, and that is your point.
And then because after that, you can actually ride quite defensively on the inside. And if someone wants to go on the outside, then obviously you've got the inside line, so you can sort of manage it from there.
I'd have to go for Metropole, to be honest, because if you're going to try and do them, that's where you need to. If I was in a battle for 10th or whatever, I'd have to do them at Metropole. So you think if you've stuck with them that long, you need to break them there. That you need to push, not off the track, but you've got to get on the inside and you've got to push them to actually knock their drive. And if you can hold it through,
and then you've got the coast road to
actually properly drive it in like really narrow. You know what I mean? And
because the thing I really like about the last laps at the northwest is it's like a game of chess. in terms
totally.
of where you position your bike, and it's a real thinking man's game.
I'm stuffed. Right, let's pull the... I'm not coming anymore. Stop it.
No,
I'll just pull the pin and go, mate.
And I think it's really, really interesting, and I really enjoy watching like where people decide to go, where they decide not to go, where they decide like position the bikes, the lines that they take on the last lap to like... It is a game of chess, but like obviously with big consequences.
Oh, it is. I
love it, and I really hope to see whatever happens. I really hope to see a close battle for the wins, for the podiums,
without a doubt.
So
we're looking good for the weather, so we should have that.
Smashing. And now, are you 600 and 1,000?
600, stock 1,000, and superbike, all in the same,
Fantastic.
all in the same bike on the big bike stuff.
Yeah,
but looking forward to it, mate.
Brilliant. And then and then obviously over to the TT is at 4 days after.
4 days after. So get back, get the bike stripped down, check and go from there.
I've got some good news for you. I've booked up to come over for the TT. I'm coming over.
God, I'm going to embarrass myself in front of you then. That's mint.
No, I'm coming on the Thursday practice week, and then
you know what?
I'll be there for your first race on the superbike on the Saturday the 1st. So there's a superbike in the sidecar. So
I'll have to get you a pit board.
I'll
pull your fat finger out, you fat ass, you fucking fat. That's a lot for the swear jar. There you go.
Yeah.
But,
so yeah, I'm probably looking forward to that. And obviously I just wish you all the best for the Northwest.
Cheers, mate.
Really looking forward to our next podcast, because obviously we'll have loads of shit to talk about.
No, it's wait, bring the kit over and we'll try and get one over.
Yeah, we'll get one on. We'll have
plenty
to
of lads to grab for
I was
an
gonna
interview.
say,
there you go.
We'll have to try and grab
marshals as well. Yeah, by the way, we're so sorry we haven't got a marshal or a guest or a sponsor or anything. This is proper last minute, but I've enjoyed the chat though. But like you say, we're gonna have to grab one at the TT without a doubt.
Spot on. And just before we wrap up, I've just opened the UK Club Sport magazine for the week. Really good read, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see a little advert in for our Motorpod.
Good God!
The old Chasing the Racing. So big thanks to Zoe and Aaron for sorting that out. And look.
Cheers, guys.
It was. I had a quick read through. There's some real good things. Richard Cooper's done a lap of Donington where he talks through his sort of lap guide to Donington. There's a few bits about the TT. Maria Costello in the sidecar. There's a real good. What's the word piece on Josh Daly.
All right. Lovely man.
And also on Ryan Vickers, who was club racing 3 years ago and is now in BSB and doing a fantastic job. Really, really impressive at Oulton Park. So yeah, all good. So like I say, no sponsor today, and I'm pleased we've just managed to squeeze one in. I know it's been a real last minute job, but it is good to keep the momentum going, and hopefully, if you've listened this far, hopefully you've enjoyed the chat. The next podcast we'll probably end up doing at the TT. So
yeah, we'll try and get one.
We'll try and squeeze one in there, and hopefully catch up after what I hope will be a successful Northwest 200 for you.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. I'll tell you what. Can I quickly I've got a friend of mine who's kindly just helped me out with my ACU permission financially. Haley Woodward from Crook there. So God love you and thank you for the family. There you are. That's my little sponsor. Sorry, Chrissy.
No, that's all right. And also obviously you launched the bomb squad.
Yes.
Which was it was just before the last podcast I think that went out.
It was, mate, and honestly it's been overwhelming. Absolutely overwhelmed. Thank you so much for bringing that up. My head's up my arse, but thank you. I cannot thank everyone enough for being part of that. Every little helps, it really does, without sounding like Asda. But but it really does, and obviously all the money's going back into the racing, and thank you so much. It's borderline overwhelming, it really is. And I'm going to get the stickers done at the Northwest, picking them up from a company called Signature over there. They're good sponsors of mine. Going to pick them up and start getting them out after the Northwest, but straight onto it, swear on my life. But no, thank you so much. Chrissy, thank you so much for bringing that up, mate.
I know, is it all? I've just looked on Instagram there as well, and Gary Johnson is going to be at the Northwest because he's got a story on there, prepping his helmets ready for the Northwest. So
he always likes looking after his helmet, does Gary?
Polishing his helmet. And on that note, we'll wrap up today's pod. So thanks very much for listening, and hope whoever's listening has a lovely weekend, and we'll catch up after the Northwest 200.
Cheers, Chrissy.
Cheers.